Hi there, Algebra 1 students. So this is your first recording. FYI, you should write down everything that I write down on your paper. And every time we take notes, you should go ahead and label it. So we are going to start by labeling this one, order of operations. Order of operations, and this of course is the order that we do math problems, so it is very important what order we calculate math. Oops, kind of ran out of room on that one. That's all right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to jump in with just a few examples here. So you might have something like 5 times 1 plus 7, all right? And so if we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this one, we would know that we do multiplication first, or if we were just working from left to right, we would have 5 times 1 plus 7. That's going to give us 12. So when we do it in that order, we get 12. However, sometimes we have these grouping symbols or parentheses that tell us that we need to do it in a different order. So when you see these grouping symbols or parentheses, that means that you have to do that order first. So on this situation, this means we have to do 1 plus 7 first. That's 8. 5 times 8, that gives us 40. And as you can see, the order that you do operations in gives you a much different answer. So let's review our order of operations, and you have probably heard PEMDAS before. That's exactly what we're going to be working with. However, I'm going to write it a little bit differently than what you might have seen in the past. So we're going to have PE, and then I'm going to write my MD and AS kind of here on the same line, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. So P stands for parentheses. Now, some of you guys might call these grouping, or it might be G. And that's because these parentheses or grouping symbols might look a little different. Sometimes you have parentheses, sometimes you have brackets, sometimes you have these braces. Sorry, mine aren't very good. And even sometimes they're invisible. So things like a fraction bar are implied parentheses, or something like a square root. These are kind of those implied parentheses or grouping symbols. Then the E stands for exponents. Now, with the MD, it stands for multiplication and division. Now, the thing about multiplication and division is that when you have multiplication and division in the same equation, you want to work from left to right. So those are kind of equal in terms of their priority. And the same thing for adding and subtracting. Is that you're going to work from left to right. Okay, so these are kind of our order of operation rules. So it is time to get into some examples. I'm going to scroll up here, and of course you can pause this video anytime that you need to in order to copy anything down. So example number 1, example 1, we're going to do 7 times 8 minus 5 plus 1 to the power of 2. Okay, so first things first is that we need to do our parentheses or our grouping symbols. Let's choose, no, we can stay with pink here. So those grouping symbols means that I need to do this guy and this guy first. So I'm going to do that in the same step because they're in separate different parentheses. So 7 times 8, that's 56, minus, and then we have 5 plus 1, that's 6, but you have to keep that exponent there, squared. Okay, so parentheses are done. We're now down to e, exponents. So I have to do this 6 to the power of 2. All right, so we have 56 minus 6 to the power of 2 means 6 times 6. That's 36. And then we're going to go ahead and do 56 minus 36. That's 20. And that's my final answer. You, of course, can always go ahead and box your final answer. It makes it nice and neat to read. So those are your basic order of operations. The one thing I did want you to notice right here is that I wanted you to notice how I worked down. So in math class, we definitely want to go ahead and we want to work down. You don't want to have a string, right? You don't want to work left to right and have a kind of a string of equations. Always work down. All right, let's go ahead and let's move on to example 2. All right, example 2. So I'm going to have 15 minus 9 over 11 minus 8 times 2 plus 8. Okay, and this is where kind of those implied parentheses show up. So, for example, on this one, I'll choose blue on this one, there's some implied parentheses right here, meaning that you need to go ahead and you need to do that operation first. So if we do 11 minus 8, we're of course working down, we're going to have 15 minus 9 over 3 times 2 plus 8. Okay, so now we have to go ahead and we have to do multiplication and division. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to do all of this step in one. So I'm going to do 9 divided by 3 because a fraction bar means divide. So that's 3 times 2 is 6. So I'm going to have 15 minus 6 plus 8. So that was all of my multiplication and division right there. I did a whole bunch in one step. You, of course, if you wanted to, you could separate it out. Now I have addition and subtraction. We're going to work from left to right. So we have 15 minus 6, that's 9, plus 8 is 17. Final answer, I always like to box to make sure it's nice and clear. I have a few more examples for you. We'll choose green. So we have example 3 here. Now this is where those square roots are going to go ahead and show up. So I have the square root of 4 squared minus 4 times 1 times 4 all over 14. I'm going to kind of extend that square root sign. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to get my green highlighter. I'm actually going to choose this guy. All right, it's a square root symbol. So there's actually really implied parentheses right here, meaning that I need to do that first. So I have to do everything inside that square root symbol. And inside that square root symbol, order of operations apply, meaning that I need to do exponents first and then do my multiplication, then subtraction. So I'm going to write a lot of steps for this guy just to really show you what order that we do it in. All right, so 4 squared is 16 minus 4 times 1 times 4 all over 14. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my multiplication over here. So we have the square root of 16 minus 4 times 1 times 4 is 16 all over 14. Oh, square root of 0 over 14. The square root of 0 is 0 over 14. 0 divided by anything is 0. Final answer. All right, very last example for you, and feel free for this one to write the problem down and then pause the video and try it on your own. I'm going to go over to the side here. So this is example 4, and again, write the problem down if you want to, and then pause the video. So 4 times 8 times 2 brackets plus 45 divided by 9 squared. Okay, this one has several sets of brackets and groupings. So it's really important that you kind of think of this almost like an onion, that you're going to like kind of peel back those layers as you go. So you have to do the ones inside first and then start peeling them off, meaning that we need to go ahead and we actually need to do this 8 times 2 first. Now, because we're mathematicians, I'm going to double it up here. I'm also going to do the 45 divided by 9. So once we go ahead and break down our brackets, we have 4 plus, 16. Now, we're going to do these 45 divided by 9. That's 5, but don't forget about that exponent. All right, for this next one, again, I'm going to do 2 steps in one. I'm going to do these brackets, but I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to do that exponent. So we have 4 plus 16, that's 20, plus 5 times 5 is 25. Now we can go ahead and add these up together. We get 45. Final answer, and I know I'm done because I have just one number here. I don't have any math operations between them. All right, congratulations, Algebra 1. You just completed your first notes video.